Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Starseed Chats. We are back Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. And before we get started, if you are interested in CBD or looking for high-quality CBD, you can get 10% off Hopewell Farm CBD with Lily 10, link in the description. And also, I just released an Inner Earth deep chakra healing session. So if you're looking for a Reiki session and you need your chakras cleared, balanced, I have a channeled recorded session from the Inner Earth beings that you can also get, link in the description. And without further ado, we have Beth Noyes here with us. I'm super excited to talk with you today. So you've been on aboard an ET craft, and it's funny because like I've seen you in the audience before, in the chat before, and your name kind of stuck out to me. And then just this past week, while I'm thinking of, okay, who do I want to, have on next? I was just thinking, your name kept popping up into my head. I hadn't even heard your story yet, but I kept getting Beth Noyes. So I was like, okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I need to reach out. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited.
You too. Thanks.
Yeah. You have a very interesting story. So do you want to go ahead and kind of share? So you've been aboard an ET craft, and then you've also had a very interesting information come up from past life regressions. Do you just kind of want to go into what happened?
Yeah, sure. So in summer 1989, I was living still at home with my parents, and I laid down to go to bed, just a normal night, no drinking, no nothing like that. And looked at the clock. It was 2 a.m. And I'm laying there, and I can see the window right in front of me. I had my window open, and it looked like a helicopter was coming, with a searchlight. And then the light shone right onto my face through the window. And I was like, what the heck? I jump up. I do some little, there's me chilling out, and there's something coming through the window.
Awesome.
And then so I ran down the hall, and the light stayed on me through the walls.
Wow.
And so as the light's on me, I was scared at that point. I was like, what's going on? Because how can it happen? Mm-hmm. And a voice in my head said, we need you to come with us. We won't take you until you say okay. I said, okay, nothing to lose, I guess. And
you were just like, okay, it probably isn't that, but did you kind of feel like a sense of comfort? Well, asking permission that sounds, more trusting, I'd feel like, but your inner being was just like, this is right. We need to go.
I just had a peace come over me. It was like, okay, they're asking. So I said, okay. That's and then, so the next second, I don't remember how I got up there, but the next second, this is what I saw. And that's, I was on board a ship with a little guy that looks like that. I was sitting at the console. That's me and the blonde. And to my left is there's a being, and my friend Frank. Mm-hmm. And the being wasn't paying any attention to us, didn't even look at me when I came on, just navigating. And to the left of that was Frank. And Frank reaches forward and he goes, this is effing awesome. And so then I knew everything was okay. So he was excited. And then I kind of relaxed, right? Because I wasn't by myself. And then we flew for a little, maybe 5 minutes, it felt like. And then we were approaching a larger ship. And I don't really remember what the ship looked like other than it was kind of boxy. And then there was a curved landing area. They were coming up there. Sorry for the third grade drawings, but he docked on this. It was really sleek on the inside. It was kind of darker in the docking area. Mm-hmm. Get out. We walked down a hall, and it's kind of like, it was like a glass hall, it felt like you could see outside. Walked down there, and walked into the room and it was so bright. I was blinded. It was super bright. And I looked around and there was no source for the light. I couldn't figure it out. It looked like there was no shadows. It was the brightest bright I've ever seen. And I yelled, "Where are the light bulbs?" I go, "Where are the light bulbs?" And everybody just kind of looked at me, and everybody meaning, this is a picture. This is what I saw. And
so was this on the bigger ship once you got to the bigger ship?
Yep, this is on the bigger ship. And we got off the little ship and went into a bright room. And these beings, my friend Ellen was laying on the table. And I knew everybody in there except for the beings. And they were like maybe 5'10", 6 foot tall beings. And they were had the robes that they wore were like just kind of, they weren't sitting like how our clothes sit. It was like they were floating like off the energetic field, I'm thinking. And they were very silvery, high collar. So Ellen was laying on the table. She was face up. I walked in and I could see the top of her head, and the being was to her right. And it was taking this washcloth, or it wasn't a washcloth, but this square fiber fabric. And it was kind of similar to what the robes were like. And he was doing counterclockwise from feet to head. And then he went clockwise. And it was kind of like it was just floating. So if you imagine a washcloth in the bathtub, and if you pull the sides, it just kind of floats at the top. So I'm thinking it was measuring her field, but that was kind of weird. And
so the people who were in there, like, who was Ellen to you?
Ellen was my best friend. She lived in Woodstock, Illinois. I was in Lake in the Hills, Illinois, which is really close. I worked with Ellen too. So she was a waitress. I was a waitress at the time. Mm-hmm. And the other people were two of the restaurant owners where I worked, Joey and Steve. They owned a little restaurant in Woodstock, Illinois. It was called Joey T's. It was an Italian place. So I saw them. I saw Ellen's mother, who was a psychic. I saw Ellen's mother's husband. And then I saw my friend Joe, my other friend Joe, and he was just kind of standing, not interacting. And then there was Frank and me.
And Frank was having fun.
Frank was having fun. So after Ellen was done laying down, the being, somehow I knew it was my turn. So I went over to this bed. Now, the bed or whatever, the table was white. Everything was the same color. There was no other colors in there. It was just white, no shadows. So I laid down.
We heard recently, I had Lowell Johnson on, and he said the same thing with Inner Earth. Everything's illuminated and there were no shadows.
Right. Yeah. That was really different. So I laid down, and the being was to my right, and looked right at me and was very calming, like just gave a sense of calm, love, not scared at all. So did the same thing with the cloth, counterclockwise and clockwise. Maybe it was like a 5-minute thing, whatever time is in space. And then I got up, and Ellen's mother, Bonnie, came up to me, and we were speaking telepathically. It was just natural. It was really weird. So she's talking to me, and she said, isn't this wonderful? It's such a gift, just reassuring me. Mm-hmm. And then after I was done, I got up, like I said, talked to Ellen's mother. And then this being here, his eyes are like labradorite. It was really pretty, and his skin was kind of like, it seems like their skin changed a little bit. Like it had a little bit of blue, white. It kind of like was a flowing change. It was really weird, but mentioned for me to come over telepathically. And I walked over to where they were, and it was the wall turned into a window, or I could see through it, a projection, whatever it was, I could see what was down there. And what was down there was a waterfall and bioluminescent plants, and then little guys driving golf carts on a path, which I thought was really weird. And the same little guys that were driving the first ship were also in that golf cart.
Oh, okay. So were the being that you first showed, the small one, was that like one of the workers?
Yeah, so it was. So that's why I looked down there and I said, "Who are they?" And the being said to me, "They're our workers. They're the workers." And I said, "Who are you?" It says, "We're your teachers. We bring beautiful things from planets and bring them to other planets." And so basically, like they go around and they pick things that they think are beautiful and helpful. And I got that they do a little bit of altering to the plants and other things so that they can be transplanted to a different area, a different earth or whatever. So he said, "We're your teachers. We've been here watching over you." Kind of like their guides, basically said that they loved us. And the next thing I knew, I was back in my body. And he said the plants also have a lot of purpose. The plants are important. So I got that we were supposed to watch for these plants, that they're going to be gifted to us maybe.
So they were like bioluminescent, like glowing.
Yeah, like the main one I saw where there was red, blue, well, there's all colors, but they were definitely glowing. They looked like tropical plants, and they were right next to the waterfall. The soil, or whatever they had that built the waterfall, was like a tannish yellow color, like a clay color. The water was blue. And it seemed like we were maybe 3 stories high. So looking down in the middle of this great big courtyard, it was really peaceful. It was really pretty. So the next thing I knew, I was back in my body, and I looked at the clock, and it was 2:05. So I kept track of the time. So it was only 5 minutes had passed.
And how long did it feel like?
It felt like I was up there for hours. Yeah, it was only 5 minutes. I would say at least a couple hours. It's what it would feel like.
Wow.
And then as far as like me getting back, I didn't drive a scout ship back. I was just back. I don't know. So I don't remember that exactly how I got back, but I was back in my body, or I thought I woke up. I thought it was a dream. Is what I thought. I'm like, wow, what a cool dream. That was so weird and so detailed. And anyway, so I went to sleep.
I wanted to ask what types of beings were those that didn't they said something, they mentioned it?
So when I asked who are you, the being said, "You would call us Arcturian. You would call us Arcturian." Yes, I didn't know anything about any of the different beings, but I remember that. And Frank said he remembers them saying that too, that they were Arcturian. The tall ones were. Yeah, the short guys, I think, were just workers, maybe non-biological. I don't know, but
yeah, kind of. That's what I was kind of trying to put the pieces together. So the Arcturians, I have seen Arcturians that they looked very similar to Greys sometimes. Like with the big almond eyes. Some of them are blue. I just recently woke up to some three Arcturians that were like teal colored, like a bright light blue. And I was like, I asked them about that, and they said we're Aquaturians. Like aqua.
That's cool. And the other thing I was thinking is maybe when we see them and it's like dark or something, like say they come to us, maybe their aura emits blue. I don't know, but yeah, it had so many different colors in there that were kind of swirling, modeled. It was really cool.
So was their skin mostly like a lighter color?
It was definitely, yeah, it looked more like whitish, tan, blue. And it was, if you know what mottled is, it has different, it wasn't speckled, but it was kind of like a swirling, just, and I don't know if that was their energy, but
Wow.
I got a good look at their arms. So,
Wow.
and their eyes were amazing. Like, this is labradorite. So imagine this as being an eye.
Wow.
It kind of reminded me of that, like that when they were looking, and they were bigger eyes.
Yeah.
No
So
hair.
how did it feel like being next to, well, I guess you already said it, more like kind of like peaceful. At first you were startled, then you started feeling kind of more peaceful. Did you ever feel like you knew them? Like
Yes. So I feel like what I got was I've worked with them. I feel like I've worked with them before, or I was one of them before, maybe. It felt like I was home, which was really weird.
Yeah.
Because I've never even imagined it being like that. You know, we had ET back in the 80s. They didn't look anything like ET. There really wasn't a lot out there other than Close Encounters, that sort of thing. But yeah, these are beings I'd never even imagined before. So they were, yeah, felt like home, and it was cool.
That's
But
beautiful. And I wanted to ask you another question. So you said suddenly you were like back in your body, because I think we're going up on ships all of the time and we just have no idea. Like,
absolutely. And
yeah.
I don't know why we remembered everything. I mean, everything other than maybe little bits and pieces. But as far as overall memory, it was like solid. It was solid, and everybody but one person remembered. So the next morning, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, the phone starts ringing. And it was in the kitchen. My mom yells, "Beth, phone." I'm like, who's calling me this early, you know? And I get on the phone, and it's my friend Ellen. And she goes, "What did you think of that last night? That was amazing." And I said, okay, because I had to verify, you know, I'm like, "What did you see?" She described everything. I said, who was on there? She named all the people that were on there. I said, "What did they do?" And she said, "They scanned us and gave us information that in the future we'll use." So that's what Ellen said. So that's what she got out of it. And I go, "Yeah, it's just weird that we had a dream like that." And I'm still thinking it's a dream, that maybe we're dream walking or whatever, you know, that can happen. So then Ellen's mother, who has never ever called me before, called me right after Ellen hung up. And I don't even know how, I guess Ellen gave her my phone number. She called me and said, "What did you think of our dream last night?" And I said, "Yeah, it was wild." And she goes, "It wasn't a dream. It was a gift. It was a gift." And, you know, so that's what she said.
That's beautiful. And then Frank, is that the one that kind of like got you where you're like, okay, this definitely wasn't a dream? There he was.
Yeah. So I called Frank, and he answers the phone like, "Hey, lady." And I go, "Hey, what'd you think of that last night, that dream?" He goes, "That wasn't a dream. I was walking down the road at 2 a.m, down the highway, and I thought a truck with its high beams were on me. So I turned around to flip the guy off, and then I was on the ship with you." And I said, "Okay, what did it look like?" You know, he described it, and I said, "What did you say to me?" Because I had to know, you know, I was just like, I had to figure it out. And he goes, "I said, this is fucking awesome." Sorry, but that's what he said. And then I asked him who he saw up there, and he mentioned everybody that he saw.
Wow.
And then I tried calling my other friend Joe, and asked him if he remembered, because everybody saw him. And he goes, "I absolutely don't know what you're talking about." He didn't remember at all. And he goes, "But I was really drunk and stoned."
Wow.
So I think he got brought up and just didn't remember, which is too bad for him. But so anyway, after all that, my mom's watching this. It's like, "What's going on?" And I go, "I'm pretty sure we went on a spaceship." And she's like, "That's nice." What do you say? you know. But she
cool.
saw everybody calling me and me talking, and she was standing right there listening to everything. And she's just like, wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, I recently found out that my mom, she's watched this whole thing grow over the last 2 years with me, saying I've been seeing UFOs, been seeing this and all of that. I just found out recently that she's been on the ship. She's seen one before, and she had a dream that she was on a ship, and I was like, Mom, that wasn't a dream.
Oh, yeah. If you remember it in detail, your dreams, they're not dreams. And if you can remember them, like say 5 years later, that wasn't a dream. That wasn't that was real.
So I'm wondering, you had mentioned something curious. So you were also doing a lot of astral projection at the time, or you'd done that at the time. But when it came to like the abduction, so you feel like your physical body was taken up there for sure.
I'm pretty sure, but I know Frank for sure was, because
he was walking.
I'll get to that point afterwards. I mean, because when they dropped him off, he was 2 miles away from where they picked him up, and it took him till 5 a.m. to walk home. So he was out. He's like, they could have at least dropped me off in the same spot or dropped me off at home, but they dropped him off in the wrong direction 2 miles. And that was 5 minutes later. How does that happen? You can't go 2 miles in 5 minutes, if you're walking.
They might have done that on purpose so that you guys would know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could have been up there astrally easily, but it felt like when I was running with a light on me that I was in my physical body, but sometimes it's hard to tell,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so then I went to work. I worked at that restaurant, Joey T's, that I was telling you about. The 2 owners were up there. One was a chef. The other one was the owner, and Ellen worked there too. So I come to work 10 a.m. for the lunch crowd, and Ellen comes up to me and gave me a big hug and said, "Don't talk to Joey and Steve." I talked to them, and they're freaked out. They said that they think we did it because they knew we were in astral projection and stuff like that. They think that we did it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go talk to him anyway. So I went over and I talked to Joey, who was cooking sauce, and I remember just looking at him and saying, "Joey, what did you think of that?" And he looked down and said, "I do not want to effing talk about it. Absolutely not. No." So I don't know why he was scared, but he never talked about it. But there was something went on that he told Ellen that he remembered it, and Steve too. And he's like, "Don't talk to Joey. Joey's freaked out." But we were both up there. And yeah.
So what do you think is the connection between, well, I guess, and you're about to go into that too with what you got from the regression. But so these were it was like a restaurant owner, just people that you knew in normal life.
Yeah, and we were all pretty close to each other. So Ellen was in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Joey and Steve were in Woodstock. I was in Lake in the Hills. The other Joe was in Lake in the Hills. Her mom and her husband were from St. Charles, Illinois. And Frank was in Fox River Grove. Mm-hmm. So maybe like 30-mile radius. But yes, we knew each other. And I think it was because we wanted to feel comfortable up there and be able to share the experience. I think we were meant to share this, but when the time's right, yeah.
So they said that these Arcturians, they said that or they gave you information, but you didn't remember it. You won't remember it until the time is right. Have you remembered any of that yet?
Yeah. So I had to have help with Mary. You know who Mary Rodwell is?
I've heard of her before.
Yeah. So I asked her, I told her what happened, and I was having a block as to what am I supposed to remember, And so we did the regression. It wasn't QHHT, but it's similar. And in the regression, Mary was trying to see what I remembered when I went on the ship, right? So we're regressing, and she goes, "Okay, now open the door and look down." I'm like, "I'm wearing gold sandals." And then she goes, look around you. And I'm like, I see like a courtyard similar to kind of Grecian times. And then I said, no, it's Atlantis. And people were walking around, and I was trying to tell people that we were on the wrong path, that we were letting technology take over, that we were getting perverted, that we had to change our course to become more spiritual, that we were engaging with negative beings, that sort of thing. And then she said, well, how are they reacting to you? I'm like, everybody's ignoring me. Nobody's listening to me. I'm trying to tell them, and nobody's listening to me. They would just kind of look at me like I was nuts, and they didn't care. And so what I got is that we were all alive, the same crew, the same people that were up there on the ship were all back in that Atlantean time, and we failed our mission. We failed. We weren't able to get the message out, or we weren't able to change anything. And that we're here at this time, basically because we're at the exact same spot. We are energetically in the galaxy, whatever that is. We're basically at the same spot, same situation, and we have to get together. We have to unite and love, and not technology is great, but they're doing a lot of perversion with technology, and also the lying that's going on right now, all the lies that we're getting from different sources, like corporations and all that. It's kind of the same thing that we were getting back then. The people were good in general, but the government or whatever it was that were corrupt back then, and it led to annihilation.
Wow.
So, but this time, I think with all of us waking up and remembering, I think this time it's going to be, I know this time is going to be a much different outcome that will succeed.
Yeah, that's whenever I heard you say that you were taken back to Atlantis, that just like my jaw dropped. So that was one of the first, I had like a spontaneous regression. I was meditating on something in Thoth, actually, the Atlantean. He's known as the Atlantean. I didn't even know who he was, but I recognized him as having like the bird head. He took me across the water, and he showed me, you're from Atlantis. He showed me this great city, and that just blew my mind. I'm still like, I'm new. I'm just discovering things about myself shortly after I start seeing all these UFOs. And now that I do sessions for people, I see a lot of people from Atlantis. And so I agree. I feel like we're connecting, like even in like Tyler and Aaron from Journey to Truth Conference. Like I meditated on us one time because we live near each other, and we went out and did a CE5 to go make contact. And I meditated beforehand. I'm like, oh my God, we all knew each other in Atlantis. So it's like, yeah, so it's like everybody's meeting again now. And yeah, I've asked, messages like how did basically the world end before? Like we're in a great reset right now.
Exactly.
And it's like our second time doing this, because like you said, we failed last time. And I've asked sincerely, like, what happened? And the answer I got was basically like, it was a mistake. Like it just wasn't. Yeah, some things that weren't supposed to happen happened. So now we're kind of like doing it over. Yeah.
I noticed that now that I'm thinking about it more, it seems to me that like Atlantis kind of almost had a Grecian feel to it. It kind of similar. I don't know if they were around at the same time, but it seemed like a lot of the artwork and everything. And I still remember the long white, this is another thing. I remember the long white walkway. It was like above the water. We were kind of, I don't know if we're floating, but we were above the water. And at the end, there was a huge portal at the very end, like big enough for ships to come through. It was massive. Wow. And the other thing that I got with the regression, I had back then, when I was 18, 19, I used to astral project, and I would go at the end of my travel, I would always dive into the Gulf of Mexico. I would always dive in there, like just, and then I'd be back in my body. And I'm like, there's something down there. There's something down there that I'm being drawn to. And so part of it, Mary helped me figure that out. It was a piece of tech that's underneath there, whether it be an arc, a portal, something. I drew a picture of that too.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So this is the part of the portal. I'm backwards, but anyway, this is the part of the portal that or the arc or whatever that was showing, and it's at the bottom of the ocean.
Wow.
And it's right. It's south of Fort Walton, under the Gulf of Mexico. There's silt around it, and these glyphs, and I'm sure they're not perfect, but there was writing on it that started there. It was glowing, and the thing was waking up. Then I got a math equation.
Wow.
Like a really weird math equation that kind of times when everything is going to be activated again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I've been working on that with my sister-in-law, as far as it was like the sine wave. So it's frequency, and then you multiply that by distance divided by time equals change, and then time is like relative spin rate. It's a ratio type equation, but I think that has something to do, like it's programmed into them when they're going to wake up and when it's going to happen again. I think they're waking up already. So
yeah, there's a reason why you were drawn to it. So do you feel like, did you put that in a past life in Atlantean days or another lifetime? Did you put that down there?
So yes. So what I'm thinking is we hid this for our future selves. Some of us escaped, and we brought tech and we scattered it throughout the earth and then off world, and just so that we have our DNA is in there, our those plants are in there, there's portals that connect to each other are in there, possibly beings in stasis are in there, I don't know, but they're all over. There's many of them, and they all are connected. And when the frequency and the when we're back into the relative space that we were in during Atlantis, it's going to measure our frequency. Like, I don't know if it's humans plus inner Earth beings. I don't know whose frequency they're measuring and Earth's frequency, but that's going to trigger the waking up fully.
Wow. That's amazing.
I've
been seeing a lot of, I mean, I think that says a lot with you, like discovering that and getting to see where that is. That's definitely like a clue, like they're starting to wake up.
For sure.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's smart of us, to leave technology behind that we'll discover at the right time. And I'm sure it's probably very precise. We probably did it very precisely this time around so that it wouldn't fail again.
And I don't think that I think it's unhackable. I don't think that people that shouldn't get it will get it. We made sure that it's only for whoever's supposed to have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that
when activated, it'll match our DNA or something like that.
Yeah, our frequency or resonance, whatever. And it's only certain, probably probably millions of us could end up activating them. I'm sure there's millions of us here that could do it. But I don't think the negative beings they might be able to do a few things, but they can't have the full reign.
Right. And with Atlantis, so you had said that there was there was greed, basically what's going on now, like the manipulation, the greed, technology, and then war is getting way ahead. And then you also had mentioned like negative AI. Was there?
Oh, I mean, it just blows my mind. But there was, it was like negative AI or something that's similar to AI that was parasiting, that was getting into people. we were trying to be our own gods, where we were, I mean, we all have God in us, but I mean, we were trying to alter DNA, which we were kind of doing. And so, yeah, there was definitely like an AI infiltration. I don't know if that's the dark beings or truly that. I don't know, but it felt like there's AI way back then for sure. So I don't think it's a new thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just very interesting because recently that's one of the things that part of what I've been working on with the Arcturians recently is clearing like negative AI. And I don't know like too much all the details about that, but yeah, so I think it's something that we're also clearing right now. That would make sense that that's part of what brought down Atlantis back then.
Mm-hmm.
That's just mind blowing.
And the Arcturians are cool. They're they, like, I tried to get back up on the ship afterwards. We did our group meditation and we astral projected and we got up as far, because once you go someplace, you know what it feels like. So that's what you draw yourself towards, the feeling of it, not the name, but the feeling. And Frank, Ellen, and I were in a meditation and we went back to the ship and tried to get inside and didn't work. We got in partially, and as soon as we hit the white light, we got shot back out. And I kind of got the idea is like, this is your mission. This isn't what it's about. You coming up here and playing, it's not a game. It's kind of what I got. And that they'll guide, but it's basically up to us to take what, and they also gave us a sense of truth, being able to see through lies, be able to be awake enough to see through the lies and the manipulation. So, but yeah, they didn't let us come back up, but I think I know we're connected still, but as far as like going up there all the time, they can see your astral form. They can see that. So yeah, just like they can see your body, I think they can watch all of us as we're astral projecting. They can just see us, cruising around.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. So astral projection, this is just so timely because recently I asked the Arcturians, I asked if they could pull me out of my body so I could go up on the ship. I've never astral projected before that I know of. And so they told me to work on my Merkaba each day. And I also just had a dream the other night. This just happened in the last week. I had a dream last night or the night before last where I met a woman who has astral projected, and she comes in and I can kind of share that experience with her, or she kind of teaches me, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah, so I'd like to hear about your astral.
Yeah, so I mean, I've noticed that it works better when you're doing it in groups. It just seems like you get amplified, exponential, amplification. So what we would do, how I was taught, is you have your head facing north, you're clean, you do a cleanse before. And I had massive crystal clusters all around me when I was young. And Ellen told me, she kind of helped me learn how to do this. She said, you're going to see things that are kind of freaky at the beginning, just push past it. So when I would go in there, I'd feel like amping up. My eyes would kind of go up to the top, roll up a little bit. And then I start seeing a spiral. And I just went through the tunnel. And I could feel it in my solar plexus when I was going through it. It's kind of like when you take a roller coaster ride and you're going down fast. It feels just like that. And some people get scared and pull back. She said, push through it. Wow. And so I did. And it's almost like a pop feeling when you're out. It's like, and like I've gone places before. I focused in on my then boyfriend, who was in a totally different state. He was in Minnesota, and I focused on him because that's where I wanted to go see. And I ended up in his car. He was driving west on Highway 12 West. I saw the sign. There was a mall over here. He was listening to 92.5. And then I saw these two copper looking towers. And it was like 4:00 in the afternoon. And I saw what he was wearing, and he was by himself. And I asked him, I go, hey, you know, at 4:00, were you driving on a highway 12 West, listening to 92.5? There's copper towers in front of you, and there's like a mall to the left. He was. And he goes, oh my God, I can never cheat on you because you know. So, I mean, but that wasn't with his permission. So I don't do that unless I have permission, you know, to
Right.
go visit people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff. And when we would astral project together as a group, we would take some new people with us and help them get out. And then I'd ask them, you know, this newer guy, I'd ask Bruce is his name. I said, what did you see? And he said that he described going over the trees, and then he went into water. He saw me holding his hand. And then I go, where were you? What body of water did you go into? And he goes, the Gulf of Mexico. So I brought him there. Apparently I remember doing it too, but I wanted to make sure he saw it. So he described it.
So you guys would basically sit in a group and begin meditating, and then you would leave your bodies, like astral project.
Yeah, so we'd be laying down. I'd have a blanket on me.
Okay, you'd be laying down.
Yeah, laying down. Head to the north. Crystal clusters massive, and by our head, and then crystals around us. And we played Novus Magnificat through the Stargate by Constance Demby, and that's the music we listened to. And it would take maybe 10 minutes to be out. It was really quick.
That's incredible. Yeah, I thought you could. I didn't even think about it doing it like during the day. I figured while you're at sleep at night, you know, or wake up and do it in the middle of the night. That's a good idea. Okay, who wants to do that?
Yeah, I'm serious. If you're doing it in groups, maybe we kind of do group meditations, like in Tony's group, you know, tier 3. We do group meditations, and we meet up in the Astral, and then we have our healing focus afterwards. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I can't quite astral project like I used to. I can remote view, but I can't astral project as easily. And I don't know if it's just because I'm old, but who knows?
Yeah,
not as easily though.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, so since then, what kind of, okay, let me ask about this first. So the plants, going back to what they showed you, so they were saying that these plants are going to be kind of dispersed around Earth. These beings are going to put these plants around Earth for humanity to find, and they do different things like healing. They can also be used for lighting, for energy purposes. Do you have anything else that you want to add to that? I just thought that was really, really cool. So we could probably expect that soon.
Yeah, so either like these plants are good. I imagine they'd be close to a waterfall. It could be underground, a waterfall. It could be that. And what I got to is that they took the plants, and these beings, the Arcturians, did a little bit of genetic manipulation and created like their ship, parts of their ship with that, so that it's an extension of themselves. That's what I think they use it for, and lots of other things. But I truly think that, yeah, free energy, healing, all kinds of advances is going to be through plants, natural stuff that it's common. If I bet you somebody's found them already, but we just haven't heard.
Yeah. While you were sharing that, I feel like the inner earth beings are going to be bringing some things up also.
And they might be down with them too. It might be that they have them and they're the guardians, you know.
They're going to bring them up whenever we are ready.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how old were you whenever this happened?
20. I was about 20 years old.
Wow. Okay. So as a group of friends, you guys got to remember the whole thing, most of you. Do you still talk to these people at all?
So I talked to Frank. But I hadn't for a while because we went off and did our own lives, and maybe like a year after all that, we kind of dispersed and moved. But I talked to Frank recently, and it was like 2 years ago when I talked to him about this, and he said he remembers going on the ship. He remembers getting dropped off. He remembers what he said. Mary got a hold of him, Mary Rodwell, just to see what his take on it was. And he pretty much said he doesn't remember quite what happened on the ship, but he remembers the scout ship. He remembers what he said to me and how he got dropped off. So I talked to Frank. Ellen, I can't find Ellen. I can't find her anywhere. And then Joey and Steve. I'm trying to reach out to them, but they weren't really willing to talk. But if I can find Ellen, Joe, but I'm going to try to have Frank come to the conference and see if you guys can pick his brain and see what he remembers. So
yeah, I would love to meet him.
He's super cool. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then I just remembered something. So the scout ship, you were picked up through a scout ship. Was it like a flying disc? I know you showed a picture, but was it like a flying saucer with a clear top?
I think, okay, so I didn't see it because it was dark outside. I didn't see what it looked like from the outside, but on the inside, there's just like window all around. And so I could see through that. And then the panels were all just kind of flat with like lights. And the being was just kind of using his hand and then we had chairs, which is, I guess they have chairs, but there were three chairs that I could see. And I didn't look behind me. I was just kept looking outside and looking at the stars.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I guess they have to sit too sometimes.
Right.
And then you had mentioned like this. So actually, what I was going to ask is the scout ship brought you to a bigger ship. Do you think that bigger ship, do you feel like that was near Earth somewhere?
Yes, for sure. It felt like it was really I don't remember going through any portals or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Just straight up there. I mean, outside, I'm sure it was outside of the Earth's atmosphere, but relatively close. And it felt like it was very close to Earth, and it was huge. It was huge.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, they've showed me visions of just ships all over in the sky, and we can't see them.
They are, yeah. They're definitely all over. And I mean, and also they did tell me that there are bad and there's good. They told me that there are bad and there's good. So don't think that all of them are good, but basically that they're here to make sure we succeed. They love us. That's what I got.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything kind of else that you would like to share? That I find it very interesting that, okay, so just actually last night, I remember I woke up kind of from like a dream, but it wasn't a dream, where I was sitting there talking with them. And I know that I was on, not the Arcturians, but some of my star family. But it seemed very hazy, dreamlike. I'm like, I know I was just up there. And you've probably gone up there many, many times since then, but you just don't get to remember it. I just think that's just so fascinating and exciting.
I feel like I connect with them. You know, one of my guides that's another thing that Mary regressed me. I was able to see my guides. And one was definitely Arcturian. And she was human back in World War II, and I was during World War II. She was my sister back then, and so she's there. And then the other two guides were like undulating gold, sparkly things, that plasma beings. And there was like no form; they were just gold. And they were just in the back. I'm like, okay, whatever that is, I don't know, but I saw them too.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. And then I don't know if you touched on this, but so all of the people that went to the ship, you're part of the same soul group. Do you think you're part of the same soul group? So you reincarnate over and over together?
Absolutely, yes. And now I don't know if this is possible, but back in Atlantis, one thing I got, which is possible, is that we were the same being. That we were fractals of this stronger being. the bigger being. So I got that we're either soul family for sure, or we're different aspects of the same being back in Atlantis, like a very tall, big being. So I don't know what that is, but yes, for sure we're connected.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Awesome. Let me see if there was any I wrote a note. You had mentioned a stargate over the water that you saw in Regression. Could you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, so that same picture with the writing on it, when it was activated, when it was working, it was huge and it was levitating over the Gulf. And that's the one that has the big walkway to it. And it also had some stuff underneath of it, like an arc types thing, but it was a huge portal, like ships can come through it. It was massive.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
I think there's a lot of portals. I mean, I think, and I'm sure they'd connect with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can jump from one to another. I just can't wait for them to come back.
I know. It's super exciting to just envision actually being able to go through one. It's just mind-boggling. And especially after hearing like your story, this testimony, I find it very inspiring and very revealing that we're getting super close. We are getting so close.
The main message was unity, love, unconditional love, forgiveness, but definitely speak up and speak your truth, because there's not a lot of time left before the change happens. So and it's a good change, but definitely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I'm sure we will be speaking again. Do you want, if anybody would want to like reach out to you, was there any information that you wanted to put in the description if you're open to that?
Oh yeah, you can put my email or just my email. I don't really have any site or anything like that, so email is fine. I work full time, so I'm not. So if I don't get back to you right away, it's because I'm at work a lot.
Yeah. So. Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to see you at the Journey to Truth conference in May also.
Can't wait. We're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you for having me. Okay, bye.